Hey, I wanted to talk a little bit today. It's the end of 2025, and I want to talk a little bit today about like what happened in 2025 and what we're calling the rise of content systems. We care very deeply about building content systems with our clients. What is a content system? Why would you care about it? Why is 2025 the year of that? What was this year like for everybody? Those are the things I want to talk about today. Let me start by briefly kind of defining what I mean and what Hercule means when we talk about a content system. So a content system is the people and the process and the technology that lets you take all the things that your buyers need to learn, all of the things, and extract that information from all of the things that your people already know, your marketers, your salespeople, your SAs, everybody else that they know about those problems. So there's stuff that buyers need and want to learn. There's ways that they're looking for help. And we know those things. And we know them because it's embedded in our product. And we know that because we've been around product and talked to customers and all that stuff. So you need a system to do that. And what AI let us do this year is fundamentally deal with content in a much more structured way and use machines to actually help us scale content, which we weren't able to do 2-3 years ago. And you can see how that would really help us build a higher functioning content system, both because LLMs can parse content appropriately, if not always perfectly, and because it can also create content, sometimes imperfectly, but always at least appropriately. So that's what a content system is. That's part of why 2025 is the year of content systems, because it's the year of AI, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. And what I actually want to do before I go into some specifics about the things that we're working on and thought about with clients is I just wanted to do a little year in review. It's not a year in review, but it's a little LinkedIn in review. So this is from 9 months ago. So we're talking March, maybe April here. We just built our first AI workflow for Hercule clients. Here's my experience with it. There's a tour in the video. TLDR, it's fine. Very interesting, not amazing. There's a little proto live stream here about what it was like. We got some engagement on that one. But this is a big part of what we do now. We still do technical writing, and we bring in PMM, and we also obviously think about outcomes for pipeline and rank and brand awareness and SEO and AEO and all that stuff. But we, since publishing that post where we did our first workflow, now we probably have literally, 100, 200 that we're running for different reasons and with different clients and different templates and things like that, and different use cases. So that's been a big thing that's happened this year. I wouldn't say it's been surprising, but it truly has been very useful. And it's not going to replace everything that we were previously doing. But I think, number one, and I'm going to create a little banner for this, AI is truly useful, even if it's a little overhyped. Let's put that up as a banner here. That's the wrong banner. There we go. AI is truly useful, even if it's a little overhyped. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, quality doesn't matter, taste doesn't matter, that AI is able. You're not going to have me put up a front, replace your marketing team with all this AI stuff. The AI stuff is super cool, but I also don't think it doesn't matter. And some of the advice that we've been giving to clients, especially on the GTM side, but also some content folks, is we got to bring this in somehow. We got to figure out how to use it. And there are ways to use it that are productive and ones that aren't. So I was going to share that LinkedIn post. And then another one I wanted to share, which is AI prompt for content editors. Here is a prompt. We are so far beyond sharing individual prompts now. I had a tab open that was like the GPT and Claude release history, and actually let's look at that in here. Let's look at the AI overview for this. And some of this is wrong. But GPT-1, don't care. GPT-2, don't care, kind of interesting. GPT-3. And then it just kind of accelerates. Now, some of this is marketing. But the place where we actually found this started to be useful, even if not great, was GPT-4. And then Claude is what we use a lot, just FYI, for our writing. We found Claude to be a little bit better for that stuff and a little bit more susceptible to advice. But look at that release cadence. Even if you think most of this is marketing, some of these things are like the version numbers. Some of these things really matter. So that's just like a funny LinkedIn post to look at on and just see, man, can we all just take a second and think about how crazy this year was? And 2026, we'll probably have more stuff. It might plateau a little bit, it might not. And like I said, we have hundreds of workflows that we use. We're going to start deploying agents to clients next year, probably early next year. We integrate it with your CMS. We build code integrations here at Hercule to CMSs. We pull in the interesting content, we update it, we push it out, and it's going to be more about covering more of the surface area and deciding where to put your chips as far as what gets written by an LLM for whatever reason. It's non-core, it's opportunistic, it's an experiment, and what gets written by writers. And so let's add that as another banner here, which is part of content is figuring out where to deploy your chips, your writing resources, how much of your calendar is LLM versus people. We'll put that one up. That's a big banner. I think it's too big, but anyway, that's a really important message that I want to give you. Is like this, we're moving a little bit more toward an allocation model of allocating resources and compute and person time and all that stuff. And where do we allocate that to cover a much broader surface area? So the rise of content systems, I've talked about what a content system is. I've talked about some of the ways that we were thinking about it 9 months ago. Let's all please take a breath. Let's all please take a breath and think about how crazy this year has been. Take a little time to reflect. 2026 is probably not going to slow down, even though things might feel a little more integrated. And then the next thing I want to talk about is kind of, ways that we can use AI and that we've seen AI. I mean, I feel silly even talking about AI because now there's so many pieces involved with that where we've seen it be useful. So one area is AI, LLMs provide a way to gauge your health of your content system. What do I mean by that? So now with AI, you can do things like, I'm going to go through every external mention of us, and I'm going to have an LLM parse each one of those external mentions and tell me information about it. Does it reflect our current positioning? Does it make sense or not? Here's the relevant part verbatim. And this is a question that I asked the LLM about each of these pages. Does it reflect our current positioning? You can see there's even some errors here. That's how you can tell I really ran this. It's not just made up data. And so the other piece of the AI puzzle here that I'll come back to is it's not just AI, it's also workflows. And those two things are related. But AI allows content to participate in marketing workflows in a way that you couldn't do before. So this is one thing that can help you gauge the health of your content system, is using AI to figure out what people are seeing out there, what's happening, what does it look like on the outside. So that's a big one. And then the other one is obviously, actually, I'll say one more thing about this. Here is a workflow where we pull FAQs. We go to Reddit and all these other places, and we pull the actual questions people are asking. So it makes research much easier and faster. So that's a big part of it. The story isn't just AI, it's also workflows. That's a super important part of this. And then the other thing it's letting us do is reach people and generate content. So obviously, I won't show you too many examples of these because you've probably seen quite a lot, but we can build workflows, and we've built a lot of them. that go through and kind of say, hey, like, how should you think about this? What context can we give you? And I'm going to show you something real quick, which is a very simple workflow, but you can imagine how these become more and more elaborate, where you make a decision about an important theme and variations is, and you go to a spreadsheet and you have a workflow that does some deep research and that writes an article like human beings are still looking at these things, but it gives you another place to put your chips, not just we're going to write it or not write it, but also an LLM can write some things that are more in the middle. So that's 2025 in content systems. I talked about what a content system is. I talked about, let's all please take a breath. Let's all please think about, you know what I'm going to do before I sign off is I'm going to set up my Christmas one here, and then I'm going to drag in my hat. That should work, right? Okay, awesome. So let's all please take a breath. Let's think about content systems. But now you have this new way of creating content and understanding content that is much more systematic. I'm trying to keep my head very still so it stays under this hat. That is much more systematic than it used to be. And you can have workflows that you couldn't have before. And also there are these new channels that in order to attack them effectively, we have to use content systems. So if you're doing AEO, you have to use a content system to make sure that you are covering the right prompts and producing the content, pulling out the context. So I talked about what content systems are. I talked about why they've risen, which is because AI lets us structure content and parse it in a structured way, which we couldn't do before. And I've also talked about how much has changed this year. So I think like, congratulations to all of us for getting through it. That's what a content system is. That's what's happened in 2025 with this stuff. AI is truly useful, even if it's a little overhyped, which I said earlier. But we have these new strategies available to us. And if we can start thinking of content in terms of the system and the way that the tools and the process and the people and AI and all that stuff interact to get us bigger results on this bigger playing field, I think we can all do really well. So thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.